You're watching ASOTUCon 2024, presented in collaboration with Reynolds and Gubagoo.
Thanks to our studio partner, Automotive Mastermind, and our panel partners, Space Auto and AutoGenius, for making this panel happen.
Yeah, I should. Yeah.
Just wing it.
Okay. I am going to wing it because I'm going to ask you guys to spend less than 30 seconds on your bio. So go ahead, Kevin.
In the beginning.
All right, you got 25 now.
Oh, dear goodness. So I'm a tech guy. Been coding since I was 7 and built a few companies. And then worked in telecom for 10 years. And at AutoGenius, we're just obsessive about how do you make the web usable for autism and ADHD, and how do you make things really fast. So that's my perspective that I'll hopefully bring to this.
That's cool. You have plenty of time to dig in later. Nick, I don't know at this point if you need any introduction. Everyone's seen you, but go ahead.
So I'm Nick Askew. I'm CEO of Space Auto. I spent many years in automotive, sold cars all the way to F&I, and ended up being a digital director for a multi-store rooftop. Got frustrated with all of the tools that I had to use, so I just started to invent my own. And now we're in the digital retail website and CRM space, bringing everything the dealer needs and the customer needs to communicate and sell a car.
That's great. Jeff.
My name's Jeff Ramsey. I'm the Variable Ops Director for Orsman Auto Group. I oversee 18 of Robert Orsman's stores for sales and marketing. I've been in the automotive space my whole life. My dad owned stores, so grew up in them. Professionally since I was 21, so 17 years.
Cool. Awesome. Well, good. So you're the client. These guys are the vendors.
No pressure, yeah.
No pressure at all. They'll just try to sell to you. Okay, cool. So I don't think the cameras are on. Cameras on? Are we getting recorded? Maybe I need to be semi-polite, but let's cut through the bullshit and let's just get right into it, okay? So I've been in the industry for a while. You guys have been in the industry for a while. It's an interesting industry with a lot of puzzling legacy challenges, right? So let's start with data, where data is locked up, data silos, et cetera. Because I would make the argument, you guys can either agree or disagree, love to hear your thoughts, but automotive for a multitude of reasons is behind other industries in terms of innovation. And the primary reason is largely because dealers like you tell me if you're frustrated or not, I imagine you are, that you got 18 stores and you can't get to the data that you need. And even if you can, you got to pay the piper to access that data. So why don't you tell me if I'm going down the right path or not here, and then we'll go through and hear people's perspective on why do we suffer within auto of having not enough innovation as we're seeing in other verticals?
So as a dealer, I don't know how many dealers are in the room, but it's incredibly frustrating every day. With the data is not readily available, everyone talks about how great their data is. Some platforms you need to pay to access it. Some places, and I'm not going to mention one vendor or program by name. So
it's up to you. You may be on the record.
There, I see a few cameras. That scares me. So companies hold your data hostage, and you got to pay, and they have reasons behind it. But at the end of the year, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for my own data that I've spent another multi-millions getting, and then I can't access it to enrich and power these other programs that need that data. Well, then I have everyone else. I have CDPs. I have every other third party out there tells me how great their data is, but doesn't talk to anyone else. My CRM, they're still. I love my CRM, but there's still walls I run into in getting that data out there. So go to the next level where I don't sleep a lot, but if I'm not going to sleep at all, I'll sit and think about this. So on my website, I've got.
Can you help us with what's your tech stack? DMS, yeah. CRM website. Is it consistent across all the stores?
So say it one more time.
Sorry, DMS, CRM, and then website.
Yeah.
Is it consistent? Do you have the same vendor for all your stores?
So DMS is the same across the group.
Which is?
Reynolds.
Okay.
Yeah, and then on the DMS side, the CRM side, we have a split between eLead and DriveCentric.
Okay.
We're testing out DriveCentric, and we started 2-3 stores. Now they're in, I believe, 10.
Cool. So you like that solution?
It's the latest and greatest, in my opinion. They offer video. That's the big thing. Like, if you want to do video in CRMs, it's incredibly hard.
Cool.
That it's not with that one. It's same as using Instagram, Snapchat, all those things. So, big fan.
Okay. And websites.
Websites, dealer.com across the board. I have MXS for my Lotus website. Because they have a smaller group of approved vendors, but incredibly impressed with MXS. One of the faster sites I've ever had that has been OEM approved.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Okay, we'll come back to more of this data silo stuff, but thank you for that. Thank you for the transparency. Nick, thoughts on this? Given that you've kind of been on both sides of the fence now, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons that I started doing what I was doing, is because at the end of the day, that data belongs to you, right? And it's part of one customer journey. They start either through advertising or come to the website, into the CRM and communications, to working a deal, making its way to the DMS. And while it's siloed, it makes you really hard to even ask questions such as, how does my advertising affect my bottom line? Right? Because then you have to look at arbitrary metrics like, what was congratulations, your click-through rate was this. Hey, you received this many impressions. That's great. How does it contribute to the bigger picture? And with the AI being the biggest thing right now is to help us make those kind of decisions. It'd be like your brain and all of the lobes of your brain working independently, right? You can't make good decisions when all of your data is in silos. So not only does that data belong to you, but you do need it in one place to be able to make good decisions, whether it's human-based decisions or using artificial intelligence.
So customers are, if we get down to like the widgets on the website, all the different ways that customers interact with you, nothing talks to each other.
How many vendors do you have total, do you figure?
I'd be too many. I really would be guessing, but we're talking dozens. I mean, it's because different.
Any idea what you spend in total across 18 stores for all software per month?
Definition of software?
I don't know. You tell me.
All software.
Well, 'cause, like for us, software, it's going to be DMS, CRM. Xtime would fall in there. Vauto. I could keep.
And when you add that up, what are you guys spending?
It's millions.
Yeah.
It's a ton of money. And when we look at integration fees, that's its own. You could buy an island with just integration fees. So, yeah.
Kevin, same question for you.
Oh, where do I start? So I guess the question is, we always said reactions, but I look at auto. When I look at the problems that exist, I see why, right? Which is, I was just explaining to someone else earlier from Presidio. What was your first name again? Scott. But like in telecom, if you have say a SIM card and you pop it into a new phone, or you're traveling, it just works, right? You don't really have to think about it. But that's not an accident. There's like standards. It's not just enough to say, okay, let's all work together. There's like API standards that all carriers must adhere to. There's a way that an address is stored, and it's not address 1, address 2. It's not city, state, zip either. It's street direction, street suffix, street type. Yeah. It gets like very, very intense. But that data model allows for flexibility, and it allows for these things to just magically work. And then people want to make like an Apple-like experience, and they look at the Apple Store and they think, okay, I can just make a really beautiful dealership, and it'll just be the Apple experience. But Apple spent like almost 10 years building the software before they started building the physical space. So that's kind of what's like, I think, missing, is that there really hasn't been that architecture. And there currently is no architecture that actually supports this connected journey yet. And so, yeah, it creates this struggle, right, where you're trying to figure out, okay, who can actually hack their way into sharing data with each other, and it is kind of crazy.
Okay. Well, I'm not only going to poke on problems, we're going to eventually come back and ask them if they had a magic wand, what the solution might be. So I'm not that kind of guy that only wants to look at the bad things in life. I'm generally an optimist. But before we get there, the other thematic area I want to talk about is, and Jeff, we'll start again with you. Do we too often in the dealer world look as technology as being a Band-Aid for human behavior? We know just the stats, if you look at NADA in terms of turnover, for example, right? We know that the average dealer's cost structure, 80% of that is humans. And are some of the problems really human problems? And we look for the quick fix, as we typically do as humans, for technology solutions to solve it with a Band-Aid? Or is that too much of a simplistic way of looking at things?
No, I'd go further. I'd say a lot of automotive technology is a Band-Aid for automotive technology and people. I mean, as we...
So just explain that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Sure. So what is available to dealers historically is years behind. I have to play along with the OEM rules, with the approval companies and the Shift Digitals. Is this recorded? I feel like I'm gonna get like 600 emails. When I get back.
Preach, it's okay.
All on social media live.
It's good. So we have Band-Aids to solve what they allow me to do. So there's programs within OEMs that if I don't do things a certain way, I fall out of them. OEMs, unfortunately, at one point dealt with more dealers being behind than ahead. So they came out with these shift programs that really helped. It was supposed to help everyone, but I don't have it all together, but I feel like I'm towards the front of the line in automotive, and I got restricted. I was told you have to set up your campaigns this way. You have to have this creative out there. I was like, I can just quit. I mean, it sounds like you guys figured it out for everyone, but you didn't, because the market shares didn't change. The dealer sales still sucked. The processes were bad, and that's when we get back to people.
Dude, you told me you were shy.
I'm incredibly shy. I get so many nerves getting up. I do enjoy talking, but I have a 200 heart rate. So then you get back to solving for people, and there is a right way to. It's not solving for people. It's like when good AI comes along, it's supported by people. Now, right now, the misconception with dealers is AI is going to solve all of my people problems. It's going to connect with the customers in a way that my salespeople don't have to. We just pay this flat fee a month, and then customers are talked to, and it doesn't work that way. It takes people working with the AI and helping make it better and answering the questions that the AI can't, the tech can't. I don't want technology telling my customer that they can't buy a car, because the way this country's set up and with the way the banks are, and it's great. I have nothing. I love it. But if a customer runs into a wall and they're told they can't buy a car because of technology, didn't check off all the boxes, give me the chance to connect with the bank, restructure this, find a different car for the customer. None of that happens if we just rely on the rough tech that's out there. So. Did I answer the question?
That's great. Lead me to more questions, but I'll get to that in a minute. So Nick, same question for you. How should we be thinking about the balance between technology enabling, to Jeff's point, enabling humans and not just being a Band-Aid for bad behaviors and bad human process?
Well, I think that technology has evolved over time for dealerships is Band-Aid after Band-Aid, instead of sitting down and thinking about the core of what technology should solve. When dealer websites came out and we decided that we could have, interactive inventory and we could view the inventory, and it's okay, we need to increase our conversion metrics, right? So how can we get more leads? How can we get better leads? Oh, people want to trade their vehicle. People want to do, 700 credit, instant approvals. They want to do all of these things. Well, they've all been there to chase arbitrary metrics, which is driving consumer engagement, rather than thinking about how to actually help the customer get deeper into the pipeline, get deeper down the funnel. So when I think about technology and how it's evolved, I think that these Band-Aids have been invented so people can solve a quick solution, make a buck, help showcase their value for dealers, but what it's created for dealers as well is that those arbitrary metrics that we chase and those programs that are out there by companies that you already said, and I'm not going to, they stunt innovation and they stunt giving you the competitive edge. And what ends up happening is then we go through these systems and CRMs chasing these arbitrary metrics and ticking off tasks, making more work for ourselves to make the managers happy and say, hey, my salesperson did their job. And in the essence of move tech, get out of the way, we were able to standardize those things. And I really want to come back to this standardization in a second, right? But if we were able to just invent technology and even AI that helps fill the gaps of the monotonous tasks that we have to do every day and allow us to be human beings again, that's exactly what we should be aiming for. Let's get tech to do what tech is really good at, which is, maybe analyzing data, maybe helping make efficiencies for us, and allowing us time to actually sell cars and make human connections again. I think that's the key.
Very cool. Kevin, same question for you. Tech versus humans.
Humans win. I think we've lost a sense of empathy, I think. And I think we forget what the tech is supposed to do. Like, tech is supposed to make things feel like magic, right? I think our job in retail and as a business, when you're in the service industry, is to just make people feel, right? Like, they should feel good. They should feel amazing. Just a quick example, I bought a Lucid Air over the weekend. And the experience of that, it was a website experience. I had to go create an account, did a test drive, and then there was a dealer track credit app. So still using one of the auto tools. Everything else was Salesforce. 2 DocuSigns later, it was done, and it was like delivered within 3 days. A few text messages, total. After the initial test drive. Compare that to me selling my car, my existing car, to the dealership that I was loyal with for 6 years. And it was the most painful experience. I actually was one of the angriest and upset I've been in my life, actually. On Friday last week, I actually had my brother pick me up. It was true story. And I had to, we had to sit in a parking lot for an hour just for me to breathe. And for me, because I think this is why the autism part or the thinking about empathy, I went out of my way to call ahead. Here's what I'm expecting. I stated to multiple people, which I shouldn't have to do, hey, I have, here's a disability, here's what I need, here's my communication needs, da 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 da. And I had to keep repeating myself multiple times. And no one had put a flipping note into the CRM to say, hey, this is where this guy's waiting for something. And it was so difficult to just do a very simple transaction where I wanted to feel really good about it. And because I just had this really great experience, and I was I'm just going to go to the dealer. They know me, and who are you? It was so disappointing. And I think that's our job, right? Is tech should just make it feel like people are known, and they should be able to feel good as a result. And if we're not creating that type of feeling, we're doing everything completely wrong. And I think it's we just have to keep fixing the pieces until we get there. Right.
And if I could jump in, so you're selling your car, right? So within CRMs, we have just appointments. I don't know a CRM out there where you can differentiate buying a car, which is a big part of the car dealer world right now, is we want to buy your car versus sales appointments. So some dealers are afraid to put the purchase of a car within the sales appointments because the expectation is a sale, not a purchase, not an acquisition. Mm-hmm. So the tech itself, there are these simple structures within the CRM where it's to me, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but it just seems simple to me. I'd like to have I'd like to have a second tag that says vehicle sales or vehicle acquisition appointment. Those simple things don't exist.
Yeah.
And what it boils down to, in my opinion, we were talking about this a little earlier, in the automotive world, one of the biggest issues I think there are a lot of companies out there that they build something and it's great. And they're passionate, they're excited, and early they put out a product that creates a solution to what the dealer needs. Then they get bought, and then everything stops. Then the support goes away. Then the technology is done. And then you look back 8 years later, that product is being sold frequently still, and it hasn't changed at all. Look back eight years ago, look back 5 years ago. Is it different? Yes. But for me, I look for companies that have their shit together and they're not well known. I have a text solution company that texts customers within the guidelines that don't get me sued and engages them about their service appointments, about sales. I hesitate to tell people about them because I know in a couple months they blow up, they're going to be sold. I want them to make money, but I'm not going to aid having a bad customer experience here in a few months. But it's literally at that point. I'm not kidding. I'm terrified they're going to sell. And when they do, I'm happy for them. But I know what I'm up against. I got to find a new company.
Sad state of affairs. Okay, so we are a little bit more than halfway through, and I want to open up questions to the audience. No, I feel lonely up here. No one sent me any questions in the app. Yeah, you got questions. We got questions? I got no questions. I'm on the wrong page. Anyway, read them to me if you've got them, because I'm on the app. Maybe I'm in the wrong place.
So the first one that I'm going to give you is Amazon going to solve the car buying experience?
Okay. Are you experimenting with Amazon right now?
No, I have a strong opinion on it.
All right, go ahead.
So
imagine that, Jack.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, This is a unique one. I don't believe I signed an NDA, so I think I can talk about this. I'll find out shortly. So I was working 18 months ago for about a year. I was talking with Amazon about selling cars, them having the ability to put our cars online, offering a customer buying experience that's easy. And they went through everything. They went through absolutely everything, marketing. And then at some point I got a little nervous and I said, we're diving past what I feel like is a third party selling cars on their site. So I have a few more questions before we move forward, and then we stop talking. And then Hyundai announced their deal with them. So for Amazon, my worry, and I know I share this opinion, they have all the money in the world. I don't think they have interest in a third party selling cars. I think they're just going to buy car dealers at some point. Buying the car on the internet, there's so many things that can get messed up unless it's strictly used. Once you get to new and you're talking about surveys that affect everyone's pay plan, they affect the store's income. You talk about approvals, every little item, different fees for states, different documents that have to be signed. No one can get that perfect, in my opinion. You will always have friction.
Your thoughts on Amazon?
I will say Amazon is a very interesting company because they are customer obsessed. Like one thing I like about, I read this somewhere, I think they still do it, but when they have a meeting, it was said once that they would leave an empty chair to represent the customer in the room. And so, and then they'd start their planning of a new product by thinking of the press release that's going to come out 2 years from now about the thing that they're about to start doing. And they work backwards from that. What are people going to say about the thing that we magically did? And then let's figure out how to build towards that. So as long as that is still their DNA, I do think they're going to figure it out. It's going to probably take it a while. Now, what it is, probably it's a handoff to a dealer. And maybe there's a handoff that actually captures the right information and sends through really cool data and actually, becomes useful for a sales rep so they don't have to ask the same questions. I don't know. But I do think just because you asked about Amazon specifically, I do think that because that is their DNA, or was at least, I think that's a great opportunity too, because they might look at this from a fresh perspective. Like think of what they've done with Nordstrom as an example, as a pretty great customer experience. Their entire back end, their entire plumbing is Amazon. like AWS. Like that was one of their biggest customers for AWS, and then that became a thing that they sold to other retailers. So it shows that I think they understand how to make the connective tissue. I just think they're going to have to figure it out, right? Of where they play.
They also have a history of trying things out, like food delivery. They tried that out at one point, failed,
Right.
And then they bought a major company overseas. That's what they did. That's what scares me right now about the current Amazon testing the waters, because they're learning a lot, and then at some point, I don't see the buying online with dealers. I think they become a dealer.
I'm less enthusiastic about Amazon's approach with this. What did car dealerships and car salespeople exist for? We're problem solvers, right? That's why real estate agents still exist, right? If buying a car was easy, we'd all use Carvana. We'd all use those online tools, even for used cars, right? Even through the height of COVID, some of the studies that I was involved in, they had an 8% adoption rate for someone going through the buying experience from start to finish, or even on new cars. This is an issue because what happens is it's yes, great, fantastic for your trade. What if there's a problem? What if there's a problem with finance? What if there's a problem with titling? What if we need someone to solve a problem? What if we need someone to advocate for the customer? What if we need to give the customer a little bit of grace and find a different lender, find a local credit union? It's still a business of relationships. And although I think Amazon can solve a few of those problems, you're not going to replace the special bond that we have in the community with being able to build that relationship with that customer and help someone solve a problem that otherwise can't be solved by technology. It's, they may be able to break into the market and solve a very niche problem, maybe with new cars, maybe with providing tools in the back end, the plumbing, the architecture for that, but they're not going to replace the problem-solving ability of someone caring about another human being enough to help a low-income family find a car that fits their family and their needs. They're not going to give a shit about that. I'm less enthusiastic about that. I think from the technology perspective, they can aid, they can push the industry forward, but they're not going to replace that human-to-human connection, which is intrinsic in the car business.
And to piggyback on that, I get CC'd on every 3-star or less review that comes across the 18 stores. Every single one of them. I'm very aware of every issue.
Do you use a vendor for that?
What's that?
Which vendor do you use for that?
Podium. So I'm very aware of all the customer issues that come through. It is nonstop. The other side, you talk about caring about the customer. We don't donate to these large national charities. I sponsor Little League teams. I make sure kids at the local school have jackets. I'm not donating to the top. I take care of my community. And we give out hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to the community. That's one thing where I think we start talking about these larger tech companies, and that's the missing piece with a great car dealer today, and ones that aren't quite getting it, is their connection to the people around them. Maybe Amazon figures that out. But I know car dealers do.
Cool. Andrew, I do have your questions, so let me even add lib to this, because something I saw recently. So if you go back to 1984, before you were born. 85. So the year you were born, the average salesperson at a dealership sold 10 cars a month. Yeah. Today, 10 cars a month. Yeah. The internet came along. We've got all these software tools. You're spending 30 grand a month per store in software. Why are we still stuck at 10? What's magic about that number? How do we get that to increase? Did I do okay, Andrew? Yes. All right, cool.
How do we get that to increase? Well, part of that exists because trying to cover the hours that a store is open, you have to have so many people that are operating within the store. So there is a significant amount of downtime trying to, in order for that to stop, you'd almost have to have customers set on the vehicle they want to buy through digital retailing, where they're not doing that shopping process. The The 10 number kind of exists because it's a big freaking purchase. And if I'm a lunatic, I'll walk in and be like, I just want this over with. Just let's figure it out on that blue one. And most people, it takes weeks. They're trying to figure out budget items. The 10 number exists because a lot of it has to do with staffing, but there's a large portion of a disconnect on ease of purchase that still exists and has always existed.
Nick, same question.
Yeah, it's a law of averages, right? Even your 80-20 rule, you're gonna have your salespeople that sell way more. You're gonna have your salespeople that sell 5-6 cars a month. I actually was one of those 5-6 cars a month guys before I got into management. But the issue it is always going to be that you need to make that human connection and solve that problem. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people do go through the amount of research that customers go through and to buy a car. They know what they want. If they understand their credit, they're educated, they understand what their trade worth, they have it in their mind and they're setting the expectations already. We have a staffing issue at the dealership level that is always going to sit around that law of averages no matter what technology stack that we use, because we still need to be part of that process. We still need to be part of that relationship. So yes, can we increase that by creating efficiencies in the process? Yes, but I don't think the future needs for us to have 5 salespeople selling 20 cars a month instead of 10. I think what the industry needs is a way to bring the customer through the journey and reduce the time and the friction it is to sell a car. I don't want the human experience to go away. I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to empower those people to spend more time with their customers in anticipating their needs and providing that customer service. So I don't see that as a problem. It's still a law of averages. And I'm not here to reduce the amount of salespeople that we have at a dealership level.
Kevin, same question.
I disagree. I think we could set targets higher. I think close rates should be 20, 25, 30%. I think conversion rates on the web should be 8 to 10%. I think not about 0.4%. I think we can get it where we send ads to a site that people stay on, right? And I think the reason why it hasn't gotten better is because the experience has gotten worse. We basically have taken the newspaper ads, where I grew up in Windsor, so I'm thinking of Windsor Star. Back page of the Windsor Star was all these car ads, right, with all the little overlays on them. And we just kind of took that and popped it on the web and said we have a website. And then added more CTAs to it. And so I think there is a world where I think there are more people that want to transact than we think. But we're not allowing them to transact because we keep adding bloat. And so, that's for us, why we decided to get into the speed stuff. Basically you can, installing a script onto an existing child site to make it faster is there's just been this pattern, right, of just adding more and more to a site and assuming that that's just going to make the experience better. When you look at Amazon, I spent a ridiculous amount of money with them recently because I just moved. It was so addictive. I don't even want to look at the total, but I know how many charges I hit the card. But they just make it so easy, right? It's just I don't know, who's bought something from Amazon in the last month? Anyone? Last minute? During this session, someone's Amazon, right? It's so easy, it's right. And so I actually think there's a lot more people who would participate in the car buying process if it was an easier process.
All right, we have to wrap. We're at time. I'm going to ask them one question, speed round. You got 30 seconds. 5 years has passed. We have you guys back up here. What do you hope has changed in 5 years?
I'm the first 30-second guy. Perfect world. I'd like if there's one system. That's your CRM, whatever it is, but that connects to your website. You have your interactions with customers, your chats, they all exist within the CRM. You're able to complete all of your transaction within there. You're not going to 3 different portals or 4 different portals. You're able to complete your credit process. You're able to get them approved in there. Simplicity, I'm wishing happens in 5 years. I don't think it will. And I hope that there is an AI solution where you can trust it. It's far enough along to where you have one person overseeing interactions with all of your customers, wishing them happy birthday, checking in with their service visit, and then the one person's checking in to take over the human interaction. So I'm not relying on a staff of 20 to 30 to do that. I have one person that's kind of watching the machine work.
Good. That's great. Nice vision. To be put on the spot. Nick.
To piggyback off that, one of the same things, I think one system with connected data that handles everything from the start to the finish of the transaction, you don't have to go anywhere else. That gives your AI something to be able to look at holistically there. I think that customers want to do all the boring stuff at home. They want to get their credit application done. They want to be approved. The only reason that you should be going to a dealership is to make sure that the car's the right fit for you and to drive away in it, right? Or get a delivery. I think in the future, one of the biggest things is going to be that connected data, but it also just drastically reducing the friction and the time it actually takes to buy a car.
Kevin, last word.
We'll remember people again. I think that's, like in 5 years, I think we would stop having the conversation to add in another button to a VDP. I think in 5 years we will never hear it.
Hallelujah.
5 years from now we will not hear that phrase. That's my statement. It's not happening in 5 years. And I think also the reason why is because we'll have learned how to do A/B testing like everyone else in the world does, and we'll actually not do before and afters. We will use same time frame and do with, without. You know, with this change, without the change. With this change, without this change. Cohort-based things, tests. Like, we're going to get better at using data the way it's, like, how it's supposed to be done. And then we'll learn how to get better because we're measuring the right things the right way. Because I think a lot of the stuff, you know, we're at the state because we weren't measuring the right things. And we weren't looking at, you know, whether it actually is making a difference. And everyone likes to take credit for, like, you know, being the thing that floated on top of the other thing. And like, look, where are all your leads? It's like, no, because you just block all the buttons. And so, I think we'll have solved that.
Awesome. Round of applause for our panelists.